Am I the a-hole for refusing to take care of my parents? My household was negative, to say the least. My parents were strict and controlling, wanting me to become a doctor or lawyer, but all I ever wanted to do was art. I remember showing them my artwork, only to be met with sarcastic remarks. When I told them I was going to college for art and asked for their support, I don't even know why I bothered, since I knew they wouldn't help, unless I was studying something they approved of. As expected, they refused, saying it was my choice, my responsibility. So, I struggled as a broke college student, barely making ends meet while juggling 2 to 3 part-time jobs and keeping up my grades. Now, I own a small art program. A year into my degree, I met my now husband in a small coffee shop. Turns out, he was also a student looking to make friends. By friends, he actually meant a girlfriend, and he asked for my number. I agreed, since he was cute, and now we have 2 kids together. Now at 32, my husband, 34, and I have a happy family. His family became my second family. They helped me through college and never acted like monster in-laws. But now my mom, 66, and dad, 69, have reached out with demands. 1. Meet their grandkids. 2. Move in with us or have us cover their rent. 3. Pay for their hospital/medical bills. Their reasoning? They claim they did so much for me and deserve their happy ending too. I reminded them of their own words, your choice, your responsibility, and told them they needed to work like I did to get by. I wasn't going to help 2 stuck-up pieces of work. I feel like I did the right thing since they abandoned me when I needed help. However, some family members think I'm being unfair. They worked for me so I could eat, etc. Part of me doesn't want to expose myself or my kids to their toxicity, but before making up my mind, I wanted some unbiased outside opinions. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I think it's always crazy when parents say, we did so much for you, providing food, clothes, a place to live, etc. when you were growing up. You didn't ask to be brought into the world. Your parents chose to have kids, and thus chose to take on the responsibility to provide for you. The fact that they're making demands of you, especially expecting you to move them in or pay their rent, is kind of crazy. It would be different if they asked for support and tried to come up with a solution that worked for both of you. Also, the fact that they haven't even met your kids, I don't know how old they are, is a sign that your relationship with your parents has deteriorated. I don't know the full scope of your relationship, but from what you've said, I don't think you owe them everything they're demanding. If you want to help your parents while maintaining boundaries, like helping with some medical bills, that would be a kind thing to do, but not an obligatory one. If this has been a no-contact situation for years due to toxic behavior and they're only reaching out now because they want money, you are well within your rights to say no. Ultimately, you are the only one who can choose how to proceed with your relationship with them. You should also be the one to decide how much or how little you want to get involved again, for your own sake. But you wouldn't be the a-hole for saying no, and the family members calling you one should step up and pay for your parents themselves if they feel so strongly about it. My response to parents saying we owe them because they housed, fed, and clothed us is, congratulations, you did what you were legally obligated to do for the children you decided to have. Not the a-hole. You reap what you sow in life. Your parents did not support your dreams and have apparently not remained in your life, considering they have never even met your children. But now that they need something, they want their investment in you to pay off. Here's the reality. At least from my perspective, children are not a financial investment or a retirement plan. Your parents chose to have you, which means they had a legal and moral obligation to support you for 18 years. You don't owe them anything in return, especially when they didn't support your educational or professional dreams. The family members who think you're wrong can chip in and pay your parents' rent and medical bills. If they don't want to do that, they need to shut up and go away. Next story. Am I the a-hole for giving my dad and extended family attitude after they finally acknowledged my mom regretting she had me? My mom has said more times than I could count that she regretted having me, or that she regretted keeping me. I, 17, female, am my parents' only living child. They had a boy 3 years before me, but he was stillborn. My mom grieved for him basically every day, and she still lives very much like she lost her only child. I always felt my mom's coldness toward me. It wasn't that she would yell at me or tell me she hated me. It wasn't always in her words, except for when she openly admitted to regretting me. It was mostly in the way she'd refuse physical affection from me, like hugs, kisses, or even holding my hand. In the way she'd tell me to go to my dad if I was upset about anything, and how she'd make faces whenever I asked to do something with her. Sometimes she'd do it with a strict rule that I wasn't to speak or stand too close to her. Other times, she'd tell me no, and it was like she had a full-body shudder at the thought. At her most blunt, she has told me she wishes she'd aborted me and told my dad she miscarried. At her least blunt, she talked about regrets, mistakes, and how annoying those regrets could be when they were in your face all the time. You know, like a little kid would be. She has said it where others should have heard, but my dad and extended family have forever acted like it didn't happen. When I told them about the things my mom said, they told me I misunderstood her. I was told I was a blessing after my brother was stillborn, and that she would never regret her blessing. In front of family, she has talked about how she was almost a real mom before, and how losing my brother made her regret losing her chance to be a mom. They always took it differently than I did, and even when I cried, I was told it was okay. I was just being a kid and not understanding adult context. They finally accepted the truth on Friday night. We were having dinner with my grandparents, 2 of my aunts and their husbands, my uncle and his wife, and several cousins. There was talk about how some of my cousins were having babies and how great it was. There was just a lot of baby talk. Then my mom got upset, and everyone noticed. My dad and one of my aunts asked my mom what was wrong and if she was thinking about my brother. She said she wished she had had another kid or 2 after him, and how she regretted missing out on being a mom. There was a pause and some looks shared, and then my dad told her they had me and that she was a mom. My grandmother told my mom she shouldn't talk like that where I could hear. I rolled my eyes at that and scoffed when she said it. Maybe that wasn't fair. But they were arguing about what my mom was saying, and she told them she regretted ever having me, and regretted not having kids she actually wanted. My mom left on her own before anyone else did, and my dad and extended family started saying how sorry they were that I had to hear that. I got mad and told them I'd heard that stuff before, but they just didn't believe me. I told them I didn't want their comfort when they had ignored me for so long and acted like I never spoke up before. They told me I should understand that it's difficult to imagine something like that actually happening, and that I should give them less attitude since they were at least trying. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. No child should have to hear those things, and I'm sorry you grew up dealing with that. Not the a-hole. It's horrible the egg donor has acted this way for 17 years. It's terrible your family has ignored or explained away this treatment for your entire life. Their acknowledgement is so little so late. You've done nothing wrong, but been treated so wrongfully by all of them. Honestly, I'm in favor of revenge. Identify the big goal, such as college or other post-secondary activity. Start twisting the knife in these people to ensure they fund it, since they let you grow up without a mother or maternal love. Not the a-hole. You should give them less attitude and understand. They owe you an apology where they grovel on their knees for your forgiveness. They need to accept that they were a-holes to a child that was never wanted and was told off when you tried to express how you felt about that. They are not at least trying. They have yet to start trying. Next story. Am I the a-hole for stepping away from my family after my sister brought her daughter's abuser back into their home? Let me provide some background information. I have 2 sisters-in-law, Rachel and Lauren. Rachel is engaged to Mark, and they have 2 daughters, Mia, 7, and Sophie, 5. Mark also has a son, Noah, 15, from a previous relationship. A couple of years ago, Mia was violated by Noah. After the abuse was discovered, Noah was sent to live with his biological mother. At the time, Rachel seemed to understand how serious the situation was. However, a few months ago, Noah's mother was arrested, and Rachel and Mark made the decision to bring him back into their home, meaning Mia now has to live under the same roof as the person who abused her. We understand that this was a difficult situation, and we don't pretend there were any easy answers. However, they seem to make this decision very quickly and without fully considering all the facts, something Rachel herself even admitted. From what we can tell, they didn't explore other possible solutions for Noah's placement before deciding that the only option was to bring him back into their home. Instead of weighing the long-term risks to Mia's well-being, they acted out of urgency, without fully acknowledging how damaging this could be for her. My husband and I were horrified. Research overwhelmingly shows that this kind of situation is incredibly damaging to a child's healing. And even my therapist has said that forcing a victim to live with their abuser can have lifelong consequences. Even if Noah never reoffends, the harm has already been done. Mia is being forced to live in a constant state of stress and fear, never truly feeling safe in her own home. Studies show that when survivors are placed back in an environment with their abuser, even under supervision, it can cause severe anxiety, PTSD, depression, and difficulty forming healthy relationships. It reinforces the idea that what happened to them wasn't serious enough to warrant real protection, which can lead to self-blame or a skewed understanding of boundaries. We were even more alarmed because Mia has already started showing signs that this is affecting her. She has been acting inappropriately with other kids, including her own cousin. Clear evidence that she is struggling to process her trauma. Despite this, Rachel insists that everything is being handled and that they are making sure Mia is safe. My husband and I told Rachel that we could not support this decision, and that for the well-being of Mia and our own children, we needed to distance ourselves. However, we are distancing ourselves from Rachel and Mark, not Mia and Sophie. We still love them and want to be in their lives. We have every intention of maintaining a relationship with them and have even planned to have them over for weekends at our house when possible. Our decision was never about cutting them off. It was about not pretending that this situation is okay. Since then, Rachel and my other sister-in-law, Lauren, have accused us of being cruel, making this about ourselves, and punishing Rachel for a difficult decision. They also claim that we are cutting off Mia and Sophie, even though we've made it clear that we still want a relationship with them. They recently had Sophie's birthday party and didn't invite us because they assumed we wouldn't come, yet they still blame us for not being involved. To us, this isn't about punishing Rachel. It's about not pretending that an unsafe situation is okay. Now the family is making us out to be heartless for stepping away, saying we are the ones causing division. But from our perspective, Rachel made a choice that forced us to choose between keeping the peace or standing up for Mia. And we chose Mia. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to support this decision and distancing ourselves from the family? Now for the comments. I'm pretty sure CPS would look the other way, but if there were ever the case, this would be it. Is engage a lawyer and try to get custody of the girls due to the extreme danger they are in. Then I would bypass CPS and call the cops that Ipo is being housed with minors, his victim, and let them sort it out. The court system has said that this living arrangement is okay, according to OP's post. They are not going to remove a child from their parent when they have already ruled that this living situation is safe, even though we all know it really isn't. Essentially, OP has to wait until Noah abuses Mia again and gets caught, or Mia reports it to a trusted adult, and then starts a new investigation. It sucks, but that's how the system works. Why the heck has CPS not been notified? It should have been the first time as well, because as you've now seen with Mia, children who behave inappropriately with other children at a young age are often victims themselves. It's very, very possible that Noah was being abused as well. Not the a-hole for distancing yourself. Huge a-hole if you don't intervene to have the girls removed from the home until a solution is found. CPS was contacted and Noah went through the court system. We were hoping for an inpatient therapy program, which we have in our area, but he was only ordered to do outpatient therapy. Call now and report him as back in the home. Mini update. I have filed a CPS complaint. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not forcing daughter to visit her dad? I have a very complicated co-parenting relationship with my daughter's 13 dad. He lives in another state and rarely visits, only once a year. We do have a court order that states he can have visits, but we need to work them out first. We use a shared calendar. We don't have a lot of scheduled activities, so there are maybe 1 to 3 busy weekends throughout the entire year. In January, he messaged me saying he would be coming over in February. I hadn't put anything on the calendar yet, but I knew we would only be busy one weekend that month. Valentine's Day weekend, which also includes my birthday the next day. That just happened to be the weekend he picked. I told him that wasn't a good weekend, but every other weekend was completely open. He got mad and said no, he was coming that weekend, and there was nothing I could do about it. Honestly, I wasn't going to argue with him. So I informed my daughter that her dad was coming that weekend. She freaked out when she heard the date. She told me her friends had said that her crush was planning on asking her on a Valentine's date, which would be her first ever date. She immediately called her dad and begged him to reschedule. He actually yelled at her, then yelled at me for turning her against him. She ended up hanging up on him and has been ignoring his calls since. She was later asked on a movie date for Valentine's Day, supervised by the boy's mom. When Valentine's Day came, her dad was in town, but she refused to see him and went on her date instead. She has refused to meet up with him at all. I've tried multiple times to get her to see him, even just for a short visit, but she is not budging. He is obviously very mad and is now threatening to call the police and the courts to see if I can be thrown in jail. I've tried talking to her, but I can't physically force her into the car and make her stay with him. So, am I the a-hole? Absolutely not. I had a similar experience with my 13-year-old son. Your agreement states that visits need to be worked out in advance, and it doesn't sound like it was mutually agreed upon, so that's on him. Also, at this age, there's a limit to what you can force your children to do. Their opinions as teenagers will matter to police officers and the courts. In fact, forcing her could work against you. What you need most is a solid relationship with your daughter. Also, OP mentioned that her birthday was the day after Valentine's Day, making it reasonable that they'd have plans. He intentionally picked the one weekend he knew they'd be busy and then demanded it be his time. Not the a-hole. He set this up to make it seem like he was trying to visit, while actually giving himself an excuse to throw a tantrum about not getting his way. He's a major a-hole, and honestly, divorcing him was probably one of the smartest things you could have done. Visits need to be scheduled and agreed upon. He chose to schedule this over your birthday. It'd be obvious even to the dullest person what he was doing. Add to that the fact that it's a holiday and that your daughter already had her own plans. No, he doesn't get to swoop in, dictate when and where he gets to see her, and expect everyone to drop everything. He visits once a year, but do they talk or text in between times? It seems like there's something missing in this story. They can call or text whenever they want. They used to have a few calls a week, but in the past year, it has been dropping. Sometimes he will call and she would answer, say she doesn't want to talk and hang up. She won't talk to me about why. Probably because he only visits once a year. I realized around that age that my dad only spent time with me when it was convenient for him, which didn't include things important to me, like recitals or sports games. Your daughter is probably outgrowing the "my dad is my hero" phase and realizing that you are the one raising her. If her dad really cared, he'd show up for her without demanding she cancel her own plans. Not the a-hole.